Bass! MC Shawn Love. Hip Hop Vinyl Reviews Episode 9. It's finally happened, man. It's finally happened. Hip Hop has imploded. Makes me want to go out and fail a standardized test and blame it on cultural bias. So Banks Steelz is a record by the RZA and Paul Banks. And you know, Bobby Steelz, the RZA's other name. And it's called Anything But Words. This is a pop rock rap fusion record in 2016. Produced drums by the RZA, I guess arrangement maybe also by the RZA. He did some of the work, and then I guess Paul Banks did a lot of the synths and guitars and sang all over the whole record. It's I don't want to say I fucking hate it like the desert missed the rain. I don't want to say that this is the worst piece of wax I've bought in this year, because I did have that Kendrick Lamar album that I purchased a couple weeks back. Let's try to make some sense of this. So this is the RZA and a guy named Paul Banks, who, I don't know. I don't listen to rock music too often. And apparently he was in a group called Interpol. He's a 37-year-old, 38-year-old guy. RZA's like 40. He's like 10 years younger than the RZA. And, they collaborated by suggestion of their manager. And they did a whole album, a whole LP full of music together. And, it's got the RZA rapping on every song. It's got a couple of guests, a decent Ghostface verse. Method Man and Master Killer are on it. Cool Keith, too. So, you got a lot of hip-hop influence on this record. I played it top to bottom at least 4 times. The first time I listened to it, I was like sorting through and cleaning up some of my old records. I just moved 4 years ago, and I still had boxes that I hadn't looked at yet, and I was trying to take them apart and figure out what I had. And in the background, it wasn't too offensive, man, to be honest with you. I kind of enjoyed it. I don't really love rock or alternative rock. I usually don't like rap rock mixes. I was somebody who tolerated like that Run DMC stuff because I was so excited about Run DMC. I didn't mind it having a little rock element into it, but I didn't love that about hip-hop. That wasn't my favorite hip-hop sound. And, I never really was, gravitated towards any of the other rap rock collaborations. And this one, is no different. It's not my favorite RZA project. The RZA's done a lot of weird shit over the years. I mean, he came out with 36. Forget 36 Chambers. He was Prince Rock. We love you, Rakim. He was Prince Rakim back in '91 when he was on Tommy Boy, and that left a bad taste in his mouth. And he forms the Wu-Tang Clan, and that shit was the fucking shit. You know what I mean? It was like, once Wu-Tang came out, Method Man, the Purple Tape, RZA, it was just boom, boom, boom. RZA's fucking genius. One album after the other, just genius material, production by the RZA, verses by him and his homies that were just fantastic and just industry standard. You can't say enough good things about Wu-Tang. Then even later, like Wu-Tang Forever, even though he changed up his production style a lot, and there's been countless other great Wu-Tang affiliated releases that the RZA had something to do with over the years. I don't care if we're talking about Supreme Clientele or the Purple Tape 2, any of the solo members who used production from RZA that worked. But we can't lie. We've got to really sit down and have a heart-to-heart about this. The RZA's been kind of a fucking maniac. Ever since he released that first Bobby Digital album. We were waiting for The Cure, and he gave us Bobby Digital and Stereo instead. And then we were waiting for The Cure, and he gave us another Bobby Digital and Stereo album instead. And then we were waiting for The Cure, and then he gave us Birth of the Prince instead. And then we were waiting for The Cure, and he gave us another fucking Bobby Digital album instead. And then we're waiting for The Cure, and he gave us a million other little interesting, guitar synth projects, with Raekwon rhyming over shit that he fucking hates. And then he gave us this instead. I want The Cure. I don't want this Banks Steelz album with guitars and synths and a white guy, a platinum blonde white guy singing about God is inside me. I don't know who the audience is for this project, but I'm going to break it down track by track, or at least some of the standout tracks for me, and I'm going to let you know what I heard. This is kind of a exercise in branching out for both artists. I'm sure that, from what I've heard of this Paul Banks guy, who I don't want to sound like I don't like, because I do like his voice, I do like some of his work on the synths. I think some of his hooks on this album in particular are catchy, and I've only heard little bits and pieces of his other projects. but I don't want to paint a picture of me just disliking rock music or not liking this guy. And obviously, you know, I love the RZA. I worship the fucking ground he walks on. He's a hip-hop genius. I'm not trying to diss him either. But my honest thoughts about this project are, I could have done without it. It starts off with a song called Giants, and the first vocals we hear on the album are RZA saying, "There are men and there are giants." Almost if he's like doing backdrop vocals for one of his kung fu movies, you know, like Man with the Iron Fist 2. And then, you know, then he proceeds to rap over this rockish beat, you know, up-tempo beat, you know, passionately, like he cares about what he's doing. He's putting his all into it, and it's interspersed with Paul coming in and singing. And, you know, it's that track works for me as like a song on a RZA album that he wanted to be experimental on. It works. You know, to me, I would have taken that on a RZA album. But then, you know, he does it 11 more times. By track 3, he's on Sword in the Stone, which also has Kool Keith, which has a decent verse by Kool Keith on it. And you're starting to get the feeling from his drum programming and the keys playing that it's more of a standard RZA flow. And you hear his personality in that beat the most out of the first 3 songs. You know, and also he kind of comes in with like an old school style chorus, which we all can relate to, but we've heard before. By the time I got to the track Speedway, I was listening to it, I was listening to the drums, and I was just, you know, giving this my careful attention, and I just said to myself, this is never going to catch on. And if I know that, why doesn't the RZA know it? Songs like track 5, Wild Season, the thing I like about that the most, honestly, is Banks' chorus, his singing hook. I thought that was catchy as hell. RZA gets introspective. I used to drink until my brain blank. Crazy for Kane, and talking faster than a man think. And then later he says he wasted centuries. If you listen to the RZA's work, you hear a lot, often, about his substance abuse. So as much as we like to draw RZA up as this righteous brother who I believe he is, and a teacher and a talented guy, I mean, he struggled with substance abuse throughout his entire career, as have a lot of other Wu-Tang members. I know we don't like to talk about this when our favorite artists who we love and respect have substance abuse problems. It keeps leaking into their music again and again and again. But you hear it and you gotta note it, and you gotta wonder if that's part of the reason why we never got the cure. Maybe he's afraid to make it. The instrumentation on Wild Season actually reminds me in a pleasant way of one of the records I got from this French band Air called Moon Safari. And that's a compliment to it. It's got a good flavor. Track 6, the last song on the first plate, you know, it's called Anything But Words. It's the title track. And I love to hear the RZA wax philosophical and talk about civilization. And I don't want to down that in any way, but it's just the music and the whole presentation is just too goddamn spacey for me. It's like if he was on Mars and then he decided to jet off to galaxies unseen before, and it's just too out of reach for me as a listener. By track 7, everything just starts sounding the same to me, and I can't wait for the record to be over. And I do feel, you know, a sense of nostalgic warmth by even hearing the RZA spit at all. There's not so much on here that, you know what I'm talking about if you're a RZA fan. He gets into this vibe where his voice is cracking and he's rapping in a high pitch, and, you know, he's doing that shit. And I never like that. I never like that from the RZA. I like straight, you know, his regular straight broken bars, like the shit that he used to spit on the first couple of Wu-Tang albums. I never like it when he starts getting in those high octaves and his voice starts cracking on purpose. I know some people must like that delivery because he does it so goddamn often, but it's not really my favorite thing about the RZA. Track 9, it seems like RZA definitely worked on it. You know, the drums come in and the keys and the way he's got that going, it sounds a little bit like something that, you know, a watered down or a more live version of what might have been on Wu-Tang Forever, and I loved hearing that. Then he comes in with this LL Cool J style flow. When I'm alone in my room, sometimes I stare at the wall. And you know, it's not really my favorite look, and I don't need to have these old styles kind of regurgitated a bunch of times by a guy that I see as inventive and a powerful creator that could be coming up with stuff that's original. By the time we get to the final track on the album, 12, Point of View, you finally get those appearances we were promised by looking at the cover from Method Man and Master Killa. And combined, they're rhyming for like less than 30 seconds. And to me, the way that the beat's rocking, the way that they're spitting is the closest thing on the entire record that really resembles hip-hop, which is what I love and which is what I was looking for when I bought something that the RZA was on. I was hoping that maybe, you know, he utilized this other artist and the vocals and made a hip-hop record out of it, but he didn't. He made a pop rock hip-hop fusion record, and I know some people are really going to stand by this and love it and appreciate it, and I think that there are there's definitely evidence that a lot of work went into this project and a lot of care and attention went into this project. You know, at the end of the day, the RZA's not making records for me, and he's fucking rich, all right? And, you know, I think that that's what hurts us a lot, hip-hop heads that really, you know, looked up to RZA over the years and, you know, identified him as one of the best producers of all time and definitely an important figurehead in hip-hop, whether you like him as an MC or not, which I really do. And I think that that's a feeling that you know, he's consistently given us over the years if we really loved his earlier work. And as an artist, he has every right to do whatever the fuck he wants. He's been successful in so many ways. If he wants to branch out to Pluto, he can branch out to Pluto, and more power to him. But it's just, when I see a platinum blonde white dude singing about the God in me and their strings and synth, it's just too fucking much for me, and I can't digest it. Have you ever, you know, actually been in the hood in a friends and family setting? And when I say the hood, I'm talking about black people, Puerto Rican people. And that's where we went to participate in hip-hop culture back before the computers. You just been on the internet? That's it? This whole time? So anyway, in those environments when bands like, you know, Wu-Tang, or if you want to call them super groups like Wu-Tang Clan or Black Moon, or, you know, anybody from that early 90s era that was really respected on the street level, you know, you could have one of those records knocking and everybody'd love it, everybody appreciate it, nobody would be offended by it. But I'm wondering, in those situations, in those hallways, in those buildings where we would smoke our Philly blunts and drink our old English 40s, if I could go back in time and put on this RZA record, I wonder if we'd even make it through the first song. I wonder who this record is for. Please don't get it twisted up. I think that both these guys are greatly talented. Paul Banks, this has actually turned me on to him. So I might actually look up his discography and find the record that's considered the best one and go out and buy that one just to see what he's about a little bit more. And RZA, every single time he drops something, I'm probably just going to pick it up without even thinking about it, because I love and respect the RZA's history in hip-hop that much, and I believe that one day he's going to experiment in a way that is going to really blow my mind. This doesn't do it, but I had every chance not to pick it up, looking at the way the cover looked and reading briefly about what the album was made and how it was made. I don't know, if you're a really big RZA fan, I would definitely add this on just so you have it as part of your collection. If you like that rap rock shit and you want to try something that's even a little bit further out there than what you would normally hear with a rap rock fusion, then this is an album for you. If you're a hip-hop fan, if you're somebody who loved Cuban Links but isn't necessarily ready to jump out the window every single time the RZA turns on one of his machines, then I would say maybe give this one a listen and a stream online before you go out and make that purchase. Anyway, yeah, send me your vinyl, okay? So it's lovblog@gmail.com. So far, I've received 2, one of which I've reviewed, and the other one is 36 Chambers, which I will get to. And I've got some interesting stuff this week for you guys, so keep checking back. I want you to like, I want you to share, I want you to promote hip-hop vinyl reviews. There's really not a lot of people out there anymore that are celebrating this part of hip-hop culture, which is buying and enjoying vinyl records. Peace.